Hey guys, welcome back to Thing. We got week two of Alpha and all that because PU podcast. We do it. Me and Najad. So,
Hmm.
I think I hit
We do it.
everything. Do we want to start with Alpha or Classic? Actually, we didn't talk about that.
Let's talk classic first. I think.
Okay, yeah. So we had Classic finals of me versus Chris Loud. I'm not gonna lie. I think we've had some pretty good Classic series. Some other playoff series in particular, and this was not that. It's worth going over and hitting. Um,
Mhm.
I don't even think that's being especially biased. Like, spoiler, I lost. Chris led won, but I don't really think that's biased. This series was just like, eh. Game one, I bring a heavy offense team, and I think I really just fuck up early on because I go for a focus blast that, like, if I hit focus blast, I'd be way ahead. He'd be super fucked, and he risked me hitting it. And instead, I miss, and I go way behind, and from there, like, I don't really regret any of the shit I did. Like, it was just real hard to come back from that because I did a really risky thing that, in hindsight, I just don't like. Um, that just like massively, massively benefited him in a way that, like, I shouldn't have risked because that was a 30% chance to just get fucked, even though it was a 70% chance for me to like be demolishing him. And yeah, I just wasn't happy with that decision. But that's basically all I was interested in the game one. I don't know if you had any other thoughts on it, but really, that was pretty much how I felt playing it.
Yeah, I think in one it just sort of felt really messy from both sides. I felt like especially towards the end game, like neither of you really were like really forcing the initiative when it came towards like the end game and stuff. So I was, I guess, from a more neutral perspective, looking at it and thinking um, there are loads of plays that could be made, but both of you weren't making the plays that I was expecting to be made. I don't know if that's like a
Really,
thing
you
that,
think I had like
yeah,
major win cons? I'm not sure if you like
not
didn't
not
expect
major
me.
win cons, but like there were opportunities, I guess, to like put pressure on Chris Loud or like you know like minutia of percentage where if he chokes and makes a misplay that you can like chase him after him for it, um, which he did end up making. Like he did make up a few like really dodgy plays, especially in that end game. Um, it felt like you weren't like I guess in the mental state to take the opportunities, and then he also wasn't in like I guess a good mental state to like uh,
I don't know.
just
I'd
take
have to
whatever
look.
odds he had.
I'd have to look at like what kind of choke he could have made for me to get that. I don't.
Well, it just sort of felt like he wasn't playing like a systematic way, like
Sure,
especially in
like
that end game he was switching a lot, and
I
when
think
you
he
switch,
had no. I think you're getting me wrong. I think he did kind of like play sloppy and let me make some plays and stuff, but he very much could. Like, I had to spend so much time going around the Luminion and setting up rocks and like pressuring things because he left it on a focus blast and I couldn't do that. And then I like lost my Raichu for literally nothing. That, like, I pretty much had to go through all that process, and by the time that was done, I don't really think it mattered that he like played sloppy. He just didn't really need to do anything else. I have no idea like where like he made plays that like left pressure off me, but I kind of just didn't have like any venues there because like this team doesn't normally need to be that risky and that perfect. But if I lose Raichu for literally nothing as you leave in a Luminion on it, then yeah, that's just gonna be like I no longer have like any way to break you or make plays, and I just don't really think it mattered in any way. Um,
yeah, no, it's absolutely true that if like it was still
the
in his favor no matter what after the focus blast missed, but I will say that you know if there were answers like ridiculously risky plays which could have paid off, but you ended up not taking them because they were obviously extremely risky.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it ends up happening like
Because,
that.
like, no matter what risky play I made, until I actually had a way to, like, weaken his team in any way, I don't really think that did a lot. The only difference where that counts is at the very end of the game, uh, his Scarf Mime gets like a 12% roll to not kill my Kingler with Psychic, and then I get to agility and kill the mime, and all he's got left is this Cacturn with Sucker Punch that I can kill, and he's got 8 Sucker Punches left, and I agility and on all 8 of them as he gets outplayed on all 8 Sucker Punches.
Yeah,
And then I miss Rock Slide, and he wins anyway, and that's just no
yeah,
fun.
yeah. You clearly didn't watch the Gumi or the Canadian Wi-Fi when he was growing up. You always rock slide on the. You always don't sucker punch on the third turn. That's
Yeah,
the
no,
rule.
I mean, I didn't really like, I at the point that Kingler got the stupid roll, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna agility all 8 times, and if that works, it works. Um, and then it actually worked, which is like, but then I didn't get it anyway. Can't feel terrible about that because obviously, like, Kingler living the mime hit was a shock to both of us. Like, neither of us realized it was even a roll. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was game one. Game two, also not very worth talking about because his team is not good. He just didn't bring a water resist, and I just killed him with Simipour.
Yeah,
Um,
you generally need water resists. Usually.
yeah, I just don't know what his thought process was on, like, that's a band throw and a scarf Swanna as his quote unquote water resists. That they're not. Um,
Yeah.
it's not really worth hitting this game anymore. It's also quite BHM week. That just didn't matter.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well that the Bohemian weakness is probably the most outstanding thing on top of the water resist. I didn't really I didn't get it. It was a really risky decision for him to go like so like Bohemian weak on that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not even like it's an offense team. It's pretty balanced. It's just real weak to 2 of the biggest, strongest Pokemon in the metagame, and I had both of them, and that was Black White. And then
Yeah,
Gen 4 was pretty much just a comedy of errors in terms of like me getting a little bit fucked on some stuff that like pretty much ended any chance I could have possibly had at the game, which like that's just Mons. You can't you can't do a lot about that. I don't think. Um, I'm trying to run through on hyperfast to remember exactly what it was. I know there was at least one like big sleep powder miss, and then I think there was also a crit. Uh, it was just annoying. Yeah, like okay, he's got this subcombine Golduck, and I've got my Blossom to check it. That's how I need to beat it. And he switches Metang into Blossom. And I'm like, okay, there's no way he explodes turn one. And this Metang is actually a massive threat. It is like way too big of a problem for my team. So I figure, okay, there's no way this Metang is going to explode turn one. All I need to do is sleep powder it and get it out of the way because, frankly, like it's a real problem. I get that right. I miss sleep powder, and at this point, I don't really have much of a play. If I switch out and just like take that damage, like not only am I not going to be a good check to Golduck anymore because I wasn't able to synthesis up again, but this Metang is still a major problem. And if I stay in like I did, I risk him now going for the explode, and I don't really have like any play here. And if he explodes on anything else, like I've just lost another Mon. That was just like, Jesus, what do I do? And I ended up just letting him blow up on Blossom because I don't have another play. Um, and then more game happens. He misses like 4 Leaf Storms in a way that just doesn't really matter because that's what I get to have. And then I get my Rapidash in. That's a subtoxic Rapidash. I'm like, okay, this is actually still kind of doable because I know he's using this Gabite to check my Rapidash, and I can break through it with subtoxic and have my 2 Mons in the back, and it'll be all cool. And he lets me get a free sub with Rapidash. He Leaf Storms it again. As I get a free sub, the Gabite comes in as a Morning Sun. This is like, oh, perfect. I can Toxic him. I can start subbing, or I can even switch out now. Like, I got all the momentum I wanted, and then I miss Toxic, and I have no real way to kill his Gabite anymore. Um, and that's like, yeah, there was never any way for me to play this game. because sometimes you have to take risks to generate pressure in Pokemon, and unfortunately, I just like did not get them with Toxic and Sleep Powder, and like I think he played this game fine. I don't think there were any major ones like in Oras, he just didn't pressure me because he didn't have to. In this game, I think he played fine. I don't think I had a guaranteed win or anything. It's just like there was no chance of me winning. It was simply never going to happen because sometimes that shit happens and just what can you do? You know?
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like in DPP especially when stuff like that happens, it's harder to recover from as well, because teams are generally a bit more offensive, a bit more like less recovery based, and they just generally last a lot less time as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what my perspective on that game was. Can't really speak too much because I'm not a huge DPP player, but yeah, it was
That's pretty much what I've
interesting.
seen. It's rare to have like two extremely balanced DPP teams going against each other that can like come back from major stuff. In hindsight, obviously, with how that was going to go, I wish I hadn't brought such an offensive team in Oras. Although I do think it sucks that I missed a focus blast that like probably would have just won the game right there. Um, Despite it being that early, like just removing Luminion right there, getting my early rocks, actually being able to pressure Altaria, having my Kingler in the back, that would have been really fucking nice. So I just wish um, I decided to go slower in Oras so that like the same thing didn't happen twice, where just like early unfortunate stuff completely messes me up. But what can you do there, you know?
Hmm.
And that was
Yeah,
classic. We've covered better sets, I think, but it's still interesting. It's nice to see Chris win something, also. Like, don't get me
yeah, showing up,
wrong,
Chris.
yeah, congrats to him and all that. Obviously, like you get my perspective, you don't get his, or like the people who are like, well, I was rooting for Chris anyway, so whatever. Um, this was a very Chris day because also earlier this day, this was like the day after we recorded the last Untier talk, and I played for the PU Alpha Tour, and I got insanely haxed by it in like out of two games. That's just like I was going to win them, and then I got super lucked, and then I didn't. The kind of stuff that no one can ever do anything about. Two ice beam freezes, two crits, and a flamethrower burn, I believe, was the total between the two games. Like that was just a shit day for me.
Yeah, I was in the eye of the storm there. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Not even my good juju prayers did anything for that.
Mm-hmm. And between that and like me being this last week and now this week are my two last weeks of the or are my last week of my semester going into finals week. So between like losing in that extremely early to like insane bullshit and like having finals and being super busy, I have played almost no more alpha since last week. I have made sure to like watch replays, keep up on what people are using. But given that I'm not in the tour and that alpha is this like unrepresentative metagame that won't change until we hit beta and it's gonna be completely different, I've been like, it's fine. I can go without playing alpha. So you're probably gonna have all the new like experiences and stuff.
Hmm.
So what would you like to direct this to? Because I've seen you using a lot of stuff that last week wasn't even on our radar, really.
Depends. What did you see me use?
Well, like in the recent set that you just played to win in round three, there was a Ghastly and Nasty Plot Lipard.
Right. Yeah. So those two teams were built by Dibs for the most. Well, absolutely for the part.
That's
And
that's
the
why
thing is,
that's why it was the second one was like a tiny team with like Roselia and all the NFEs.
yeah, yeah.
That makes so
Did
much
you see the
sense.
first?
I did see the first one. I don't remember it as well. Also, by the way, I'm putting Ghastly on the viability list right now.
Yeah. The first game is well, the first game featured the dip special, aka offensive sleep powder Roselia, which was it almost came in super clutch because I managed to sleep powder the offensive Mawile, and then if I managed to hard into my Silvally ground and get the multi attack off, I would have a free. But he first turn woke and my Silvally died. But
Yeah,
I
I
managed to
saw that.
play. I managed to like catch him catch him doubling. One turn towards the end game with Ghastly, I sludge waved his Marini, and he ended up doubling to not Ghastly, doubling into Manetric on that turn. So I got a free kill. But yeah, that was actually really, that game one was actually quite a cool game if people want to have a look at that. The game two was much more messy. In terms of the second game, it was just sort of me setting up a Lipard from like turn two and then just dying to the rest of his team. Like I think it was a good like example of how you need to play in these metas where like there's loads of broken stuff. You just need to really hyper focus on what you have that's capable of winning and really focusing on that. And I think Lipard is actually a really solid like win con, and it sort of features it. The team sort of is based around overloading the
Mawile.
choke. Yeah, you just want to try and overload, just like defensive Mawiles in general. That's the idea. Yeah, when you have Machoke, Persian, and Lipard all like pressuring Mawile, and you have Roselia and Mudbray getting hazards up, all that type of stuff, it's pretty hard for that mon in particular to like last a long time. So you end up winning in the long game, which I thought was a pretty cool idea from Divs, to be honest. I didn't even consider that Lipard was going to be this good, and it just turns out to be, even though it's like, if you look at the meta right now, there's like Clefairy, Shinotic, Mawile, like,
Throw and grab locked.
Yeah, exactly. Those
are and Machoke, I guess.
Yeah, I mean Machoke less so because it's really kind of like, that's like the defensive version of grab locked, I guess. You use grab lock for Machoke for fizz def and like throw for offensive, but usually I think it's super weird to have that weird thing where it's like Lipard is there's loads of things that wall it, but if you get the dark pulses off and then the copycat, it's really, really scary, really hard to deal with, especially for the offensive style of teams. And I managed to like 1v5.
The ending of that was funny. Lipard also, copycat won't beat Persian fake out, right? It's only +1 with the prankster. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
or Pikachu, I guess. Yeah, Persian trap inch are definitely annoying, and like initially I wanted to build a Lipard and I was ready to like handle the fighting types and the fairy types whenever, but when I was like, it also loses to Pika, Persian, Trapinch, our 3 +2 priority users, I was like, I don't need to build right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like Divs' team so much, because I told him like from the beginning that I really like the look of that team. Because for Persian, you could just go hard into Ghastly because like you're not really threatened by anything, and they're not going to knock off a Lipard when it's staring you down.
Not with that attitude. You might not.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I, unlike you, have balls. So.
Exactly. Well, maybe you do. It's like that's a really tough play to make. And
no, I'm just kidding. Besides, if you do and it kills the Ghastly, Lifeguard can come back in and copycat the knockoff.
Oh yeah, there you go. Especially with the black glasses, timid nature.
Yeah, timid. Timid strong.
Maybe I should just run maybe we should run naive. Is naive minus for death?
I think so. I believe it is. Yeah, something like that.
Run naive just so you can copycat random physical moves on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's the advice for the day. But
yeah.
I feel, Lipard, you have to really focus on what you're trying to beat. I feel like it's in a state now where it's like it's not broken in the sense that it has loads of checks. I feel like it has a really good space in this meta, especially towards the higher ranks. But it's definitely not going to be like a thing that we consider as like
a top threat,
defining breaking threat. Yeah.
No, and there are a lot of things I've felt like that where I'm like pretty impressed by them, but they're not like super crazy. Like Glaceon is like, that's pretty good. I like Glaceon, but it's not like nuts or anything. What else? Poniard. That's how I feel about Poniard. I know a lot of people are like, wow, Poniard's real fucking good. I think it's like fine. I don't think it's insane by any means. We've got like a lot of switch-ins and stuff. I've never felt it's just like ridiculous in terms of its breaking power. But that's something I've seen getting more and more hype, like in council talk and stuff. Like, wow, Poniard's good. I don't really think anything's turned up as super broken aside from Arena Trap. Although I do Persian Pika Trap Engine in terms of like they're just big strong priority has been pretty annoying in the few games I've played and the games I've seen. And that's like definitely the one dimension of the meta that I'm not super into, you know.
Yeah, the uh, I'd say the thing with this meta is that there's so much stuff at the moment where there's so many threats. It's hard to focus on exactly what's causing the problems.
Mm.
Like, because I feel like the meta is super inconsistent. It's really hard to be consistent in this meta, and I feel like that's practically because there's very little in terms of reliable walls to like the majority of the meta, and then even when there are, they don't have recovery. So it's like,
Yeah, Mawile being the big one, and that's like one of our only real, for example, Silvally normal, crazy good. Mawile is like one of our only real checks to that. And then it just runs non-choice and flamethrowers you too. But like, yeah, the breaking
choice and
power,
flamethrower, like fuck it.
yeah, the breaking power in this meta is pretty crazy. But I don't know. So far, it's felt mostly in a fun way, aside from when it's just the trapping and crazy priority that I keep saying I hate. Like Stonejourner,
Mm-hmm.
crazy strong, but I'm not like, oh god, Stonejourner. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Like, kind of like messing with this. It's real strong. It's got like half good and half awful defensive typing. It's got no spadef. Like, I'm down for this kind of stuff. And if you really want to run
Mm-hmm.
full stall or something, like there's still a lot of, I don't know, Clang and Clefairy and Solrock and Bronzor and Chinchou and all these fat things that like you can probably cobble something together that mostly works. Uh,
Yeah. Uh,
what other major things can we hit on? I'm looking back in the Pew Alpha thread for like the usage stats from the tournament so far. Yeah, here it
to be
is.
quite honest, I'm surprised we. Well, like, going back to last week, I guess I'm surprised we haven't seen more Hadron just because of the amount of Roselia generally passive stealth weapons we have.
Hatchram's really
I mean,
annoying. I wish it was better, but like,
I don't. Fuck magic bounce.
yeah, okay. Like, I'm really not impressed with it in any way. Like, it bounces, and then it's like, I guess it's there.
Mm. I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
all it will take is just one person to like get a nice team with it, and really abuse its pressure on the map.
Maybe I don't know. Then I think people will like the team, but I don't think the Mon's gonna take off because it's still like these stats on Hatchram. Loud typing returns. The stats on Hatchram with the 49 speed is very depressing. Its special attack is good, and its special defense is good, but its defense and HP are like nothing to write home about at all. It's just like really does not take a lot of hits. Pure psychic typing, as opposed to like getting fairy type benefits. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I
There's a
mean,
lot. There's a lot more things. Like if I look at the low usage on the PU Alpha Tor stats, if I look at things like Gloom and Silvally Fire and Ice Q and Octillery and Basculin and Charge-a-Bug, these are all things I'm like, yeah, I can see people messing with that. Maybe they take off in some way. Probably not Charge-a-Bug. Charge-a-Bug's not awful. It's not awful. I think it's probably usable. Just But like these are a
yeah.
lot of things I would want to investigate a lot more than Hatchram. I feel like people could really gravitate to them a lot more. Maybe not, but I'm just not impressed with Hatchram. And it
Yeah,
is interesting.
it's
Like
like
even though we have
it's
all
harder
these,
to.
hang on. Even though we have all these crazy threats, I do want to point out that there's still like a lot of mons receiving good amounts of usage. There's clearly centralization around some stuff. If you look at the usage stats, at over 10 uses, we have Vibrava, Leafeon, Manectric, Throw, Silvally Dragon, Gorgai Super, Raichu, Lapras, Persian, Arctovish, Stonejourner, Ninjask, Silvally Ground, Clefairy, and Mawile. Like, that's already a solid list of things above 10 uses. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd say it's especially, I guess, not that concerning considering a lot of them are defensive stuffs. But I feel like as the meta gets older, develops, the support ones are gonna come into a league of their own when eventually we get rid of all the things. I feel like maybe Hatcham is more like a long term vision than I am. But yeah, I feel like right now we just need to get rid of the actually busted, I actually can't pull these mons type of thing, and then we can move on to a support, like, or concentrating on what support is broken and stuff later on when the meta is more developed.
For sure. What else? I think it is also, you kind of hit on this a little bit. The defensive mons are like, we don't have that many of them, which I think is a big reason why our number one individual mon in usage is Mawile for that round two. The offensive mons are overall better, but there's so many of them that on any individual team, you might be using your Leopard or your Persian or your Raichu or your Silvally Dragon or whatever. Which is why I think if you look at the usage stats, it looks like the meta is more defensive than it is in reality, I think. Like, Jesus, Graplock's down at 5 usage, Basculin at 2 usage, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's just like people are underlooking some threats and overlooking others, and it's, as soon as the meta begins to settle, I'm sure it will in beta when eventually we look at things in more depth, but those types of Pokemon, I feel like, again, long-term vision, those will come into the forefront, and it would just be boring if the meta was completely balanced week one, day one. I mean, it would just be like,
for sure,
well, we don't have anything to do. We don't have anything to do now, so
let's. Part of the reason I'm not too bothered about not playing a ton of alphas because I just don't really think it's going to look that much like beta, and even if it does, I don't think it'll look that much like post DLC meta. Plus, finals are just important, But are there any other mons that you've been messing with that you really want to be like, we should give this a mention?
Honestly, I think War Turtle isn't as bad as people.
I don't think War Turtle is terrible. I just think Smash is really bad. It's such a big waste of a move
Smash
set.
Is bad, but I feel like because the hazard control, not the hazard control, the hazard control, it just sucks. So it's like just having a something that can switch into like Stonejourner and Mudbray and whatever, all the rockers, right, and be able to sort throw them out. That's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even though you're not utilizing Smash, I mean, you don't need to utilize Smash. You can just use Rapid Spin and just say, I'm just using this.
Mm-hmm.
So well, I think it's an underlooked one at the moment.
Sure, yeah.
Other things, Wailord. Wailord is pretty cool.
I really hope we have a meta where Wailord is good.
Well, it looks like we're getting a meta where Pikachu is good, so
that's true. But like if it's Pikachu or Pincurchin, I know which electric type, which like funny joke electric type I want to be good, because Pincurchin is just funny, and I still don't see a lot of people messing with it because it's just relatively more niche compared to like, I can slap Leafeon on a team, but Pincurchin is a lot funnier. Just saying.
I mean, I agree with that, to be honest, as well. Pikachu is so fun. It's such a fun mod. Like, Fake Out plus E-Speed, that's so much nice priority right there. I just feel like that also is in a spot where as soon as somebody gets like a decent team built around it, it'll fly up quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I have a lot else to talk about in terms of meta impressions. Oh, Ludicolo, not seeing very much of that mon at all. It still feels like it maybe should be broken. I don't know, but people don't use it.
I feel like Ludicolo is certainly broken, but because trackage is such a big thing, it's like, well, why would I use Ludicolo?
Just run protect
as soon as I kill. Well, I mean, you say just run protect, but then you have to give up one of the biggest coverage moves in Ice Beam or
you give up Ice Beam. Yeah. You run Tanga Berry then.
But then you lose to Rose, and it's like Ludicolo is half as threatening.
No, I know.
Have Ice Beam, it's like.
I know, and Life Orb does make a massive difference. Yeah, it is annoying. It was just surprising the extent that Ludicolo really has dropped off.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think it will be undoubtedly broken or in and amongst the A+ S ranks when the meta does eventually ban Trapinch. I feel like that's like a foregone conclusion now. Everybody is like sort of resigned. Trapinch is broken and unhealthy. So
Yeah, trapping is just dumb. It makes the meta worse. I don't see any reason to keep it around. Just being able to come in on something and first impression it is just not good in any way. I would rather ban Arena Trap. I don't know. Like I don't really have any interest in preserving Diglett either. But like people haven't used Diglett. But like if it came to the point where we're gonna suspect it, I think we would look at Diglett and consider just banning Arena Trap, because even if it doesn't have the first impression, like the general concept of having Diglett around is not something I'm a fan of. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, as soon as you get Trap, like just because Trapinch exists, that's exactly why Diglett isn't getting used. As soon as you ban Trapinch, Diglett will get used a shit ton more.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen some Diglett usage, but like not a lot. And if we were gonna handle trapping, I would want to like ideally look at Diglett at the same time, but we probably won't.
Yeah.
Or like if we don't, then we'll at least look at it like after, and you know how it is. Are there any other things you'd want to talk about, keeping in mind that you've got to save something for Gimmick Corner as well? Or do you want to dive into Gimmick Corner?
I have my thing for Gimmick Corner, so we can just move on to that if you want.
Yep. All right. What do you got for us?
Okay, so I used this in Specthread, or the Specthread meta, and it was absolutely terrible. So I want to give an anti-shout out to Rebooty, or Reboot, for just being the worst thing I've ever used in my entire life, and being incredibly weak.
I don't disagree. At least on paper, anyway. I mean, it just looks awful. I haven't actually seen it, but Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I thought it had its special ability, Libero, but it didn't. But I was too lazy to replace it on the team.
No, but dude, if we do get Libero Thing and Grassy Surge Thwacky, I really want to use both of those. They both seem really fun if they actually get their shit. But until then...
Yeah, agree. Exactly. And then, because I was too lazy to not... Or was too lazy to, like, replace it on the team that I thought it had Libero on, I just used it with, like, Blaze or whatever. Then it just sucked. It was really bad. It couldn't revenge kill a 30% Silvally with Sucker Punch, and I was like, you're that weak? Jesus Christ. Yeah, the actual thing that I wanted to say was Noctowl is actually super good in this tier, I think. Heavy Duty Boots Noctowl, specifically, with, like, Roost and Defog and Hurricane, and then you can choose a filler. Like, I used Heatwave, but you can just as easily use Wood Buck Up or... But yeah, it's because mainly the like flying resist in this tier don't actually resist Noctowl. Like Mawile is just dying, Stonejourner is dying, Pawniard is dying.
Yeah, they're all fizz death.
So exactly. So yeah, it's in a spot now where you can really abuse the lack of decent Spidef walls. Nobody's using Chinchu either, so it's like
yeah, you'd have to be, or I don't know. There's like Clang, I guess, or I don't know, random Spidef
even
things.
Clang, yeah, like even like Clefairy, like if you imagine Clefairy is actually pretty good water that, like aside from Wake Up Noctowl, but Clefairy is just entirely knockoff bait in this meta because there are so many things that get knockoff and there's so many things you want to switch Clefairy into, so it's like that thing's gonna get knocked off eventually and then Noctowl is gonna
go.
So,
and I feel like that's the same for a lot of heavy duty boots mons, but Noctowl is one of the few that like doesn't really switch into things that use knockoff. Like I've been messing with Vespiquen, and I really want it to be good because I just think it's funny. But its biggest issue is that like it's usable because of heavy duty boots, but then you keep wanting to switch it into like Throw and Machoke and I don't know, could be Marini, for example, random knockoff users. And whatever else it is, like when you lose those heavy duty boots and rocks go up again, it's like, well, that's no fun. Plus, losing to Mawile is hard for Defogger. But I want it to be good. Yeah. It's funny B.
Yeah, I do like Best. Well, when I said you like Vespiquen, I like the idea of Vespiquen being good. But
it is incredibly fat, like really impressive sometimes. It's just not amazing. Yeah, it's usable. I think it'll be viable, but yeah, Noctowl actually good. Gets a thumbs up from us.
Yeah, And also, thankfully, because if you decide to run agility defog, you can just not worry about trap inch because first impression doesn't do nothing. So that's
Really? I bet banded first impression still does a lot. I'm gonna calc this.
it probably does like 40, but it's not like threatening knocked out like from sweeping. You know what I mean?
You take
But you
the
can just switch out, I
chip
think,
trying to
isn't it?
set up first impression does 35 to 40. Jeez. Yeah, Trappins is not a cool guy. I liked him in Oras, and I wish he was legal in Oras still, but in this gen, not so much. Thanks for listening, guys. Be sure to, I don't know, just be sure, really. Be sure to stay safe from the coronavirus, I guess.
Oh wait.
We did the Jad's
Before
Gimmick Corner. What could you have possibly saved past the Jad's
I,
Gimmick Corner?
I just wanted to know if anybody had an argument for trap inch staying in the tier. Like, what would that argument be?
Yes, that would be great if there are trap inch defenders, because I have not seen anyone even trying, and that's sometimes concerning. Sometimes not. Like, if no one argues against us banning Vigoroth and Oras, that's pretty okay. But like, if someone disagrees, and I'm sure there's got to be someone, we would love to see it. I don't like bans just being a foregone conclusion before we've even seen beta. And who knows, maybe beta brings so many things that beat Trapinch. No, there's no way. That's not how trapping works. Trapping is just dumb. Trapping is dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Yep. All right. So we're signing off until next week. Catch you guys then. Thanks for listening.